Okay, great. So I'll start by thanking you for A, agreeing to this, and B, really being so sweet about it because you're like instantly, yes, let's do this. And that's really, really sweet of you. So thank you so much, Nabiha. And
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me today. It's always
so,
fun to
yes,
do things that we've worked on. I mean, as part of also college work, we studied about this. We had our own life experiences about this. So
so I'll just, ask you to quickly introduce yourself a little bit, just, a little
mhm.
bit about yourself, about your work.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm Nabiha Tasnim. I have been a consultant for a couple of years now. I've worked in mostly in education, communication,
Mhm.
and currently in strategy and public policy. I work with Outlook magazine, which is a publication based out of New Delhi. I work with something called Responsible Tourism Initiative. So it's a subgroup of the Traveler magazine that Outlook publishes. We do a lot of public private partnerships with state and central governments to make tourism sustainable in their own states or in the country overall. Yeah, so that's what I currently do. That's what I've been involved in. Academically, I have a background in sociology and journalism, where Shruti and I met. We studied together
Yes.
in Kamla College.
Yes, lovely days. At that time,
Yeah.
I used to feel that, oh my God, कब खत्म होगा ये college? But now, now, when you go back, I was like, great, yeah, I'm really glad that, I met some amazing people there. So,
Yeah.
coming to today's topic that, I wanted to discuss with you, it's bullying. And,
Yeah.
you know, uh, when I was thinking about it, I was wondering what what is there in this topic that is new or something that has
Yeah.
not been discussed till now or something
Yeah.
that has, that is yet to be spoken about. And
Mm-hmm.
because I read about it a little bit and I felt that, my own personal experience is sort of contradicting the mainstream definition of bullying. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you search online what is
Yeah.
bullying, the
Yeah.
first definition that comes up is that a stronger person, physically or
Mm-hmm.
older in age, is
Yeah.
sort of ragging or making fun of a younger person. But
Mm-hmm.
my experience has been so, like, firstly, to just put it out there, I have also been bullied, and
Yeah.
not when I was young, or not bullied by someone who's elder to me or more capable than me, but people
Mm-hmm.
of my own age, so that
Yeah.
is, it's not that only teenagers get bullied, it's just a school thing. If that would
Mm-hmm.
have been the case, then we would not have the anti-ragging forms and the anti-bullying,
Yeah.
those affidavits that we have to sign when you take
Yeah.
admission in colleges. So
Yeah.
when I was in my master's,
Mm-hmm.
and so, I've also shared it in one of the videos that I had published like 2 years ago. Now
Mm-hmm.
I felt that it's not that relevant, so I pulled it down. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking about from my own personal experience, and I felt that, that was also a kind of bullying only when, a group of people come together, intentionally or unintentionally, and
Mm-hmm.
they make fun of you in a very,
Yeah.
very negative sense. Friends making
Mm-hmm.
fun of you and random people bitching about you are two different
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
what I felt was that, that kind of bullying can
Mm-hmm.
actually hamper a person in two very distinct ways. One, of
Mm-hmm.
course, is your mental health, because
Yeah.
you then become so conscious ki,
Mm-hmm.
even to go near that person, or that proximity, that, this person will be near me if I go to college or if I go to this area,
Yeah.
that consciousness, and secondly, it really makes you feel very you know like, what are other people who are listening to all of these things, what are
Mm.
they thinking about me? That
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
that what is
Yeah.
my because we all are so conscious about our social image that we've
Mm-hmm.
created over the years, that even if it is like, in your a child also has a respect in his own little circle that he has.
Yeah.
वो
Yeah.
चार पांच दोस्तों के ग्रुप में भी उसका अपना एक सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट होता है. So as you
Yeah.
grow
Yeah.
older, you definitely want that, people should perceive me the way I am, and not
Mm-hmm.
what other person is trying to make me look as, right? So
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
was wanting to, start off by is that, if you could share that, have you ever seen anyone get bullied, or have you
Mm-hmm.
ever faced it personally, like, or do you feel like me,
Yeah.
it's not always the conventional bigger person bullying the smaller person. What we also see in
Mm-hmm.
movies, and some like American movies are a great example. You can see a lot of episodes of bullying in those Hollywood films. But
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
like, how do you address it personally, from your own personal experience?
Yeah. So I think I agree with what you've shared about the fact that bullying doesn't have to be from someone older or someone physically stronger. I think how it plays out often is that it could be any form of superiority. It could be that the person is more popular than you are in the social circle. uh, the person is from a higher economic class, or
Hmm.
the person is from a socially upward class, right? Or like culturally upward class. So, obviously, I think for most of us who sort of studied in Delhi University, or like who we still, I think, are part of a certain elite
Yeah.
class of the society. We have a certain privilege. But if we read stories, if we look into the heartlands of India, a lot of bullying also happens based on caste, which I wouldn't say is not present in more modern structures, or like more urban structures, but it's definitely lesser than what you could see in a more rural setting, probably. Uh, but also, any, I think, form of superiority can make the person feel entitled to kind of a power over the other person, right?
Hmm.
And I think it's obviously unfortunate, but I think pretty much everyone has faced bullying at a certain point in their lives. I faced a lot of bullying when I was in school, and I think there was some extent of it also, as I grew up. But I think I was bullied quite a lot at this juncture in high school when I just shifted schools. So I was the new kid on the block, and obviously, like, no social currency to add to who I was, and there was already an established network.
Hmm.
There are also a lot of things, I think, which kind of can fuel bullying when an already established group feels like they're being cornered or they're being overshadowed by another person. It can lead to them using bullying as a tactic to kind of put the other person down. And like you said, I think bullying really affects how you perceive yourself. I think as social beings, a lot of our perception of who we are comes from how other people see us, right? Or how the society kind of sees us. It's not the most ideal situation, but I think as
Yeah.
human beings, we're programmed to think that way. Um, how the people around us see us, or something as simple as also like even like our immediate circle, like what value do we have in our like friend circle or like our
Your
immediate social circle.
peers, your classmates,
Yeah, absolutely.
colleagues.
Peers, co-workers, um, and if you feel that how you're perceived in front of them, we also derive a lot of meaning from that, like that idea of how we are perceived. We feel proud about ourselves when others feel proud about us, and if others say that even if you've done something really good, like if others say, oh, itna acha nahi tha, or like you could, you could have done better, then we kind of start thinking in those lines. It has the power to mold and shape our thought process. When I was in high school, there was this period when, of course, it affected me quite a bit, I think. And different people have, I think, different ways of coping with bullying. Some people retract more into their shell, become more with themselves,
Hmm.
refuse communication with other people. I think for me, it worked in a very different way, which I'm grateful for how it worked. For me, I think it really like pushed me um, to be my own person and like make something out of myself so that I couldn't care less. And I
Yeah.
think I built a very tough skin. It, it wasn't probably the most ideal way to learn that lesson about how difficult life can be, but I definitely think because of the fact that I was
Yeah.
bullied quite a bit in high school, I grew a
Hmm.
very tough skin, which till date is one of the things which I think really shields me from everything that goes around
Yeah.
me. Like I can
Yeah.
pull myself out of situation. Like I don't have to mentally think or invest too much of my time or energy in terms of okay, what other people are thinking.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if I if I have to look back and I have to think that in other ways of my life, in other regions of my life, like at home, I had a very strong support system. My parents have always been very supportive. But
Hmm.
I feel if that wasn't the case, or I was at an emotionally weaker state, I it could have affected me very negatively.
Yeah.
It could
Yeah.
have led me to probably more drastic steps of you know I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I know of instances where children have dropped out of school because of bullying, or they have
Yeah.
had to switch schools because of bullying. Or nowadays, of course, like generationally also there's a change. So in our parents generation, I think my dad went to like an engineering college, and there was a lot of like there was a culture of bullying in engineering colleges.
Yeah.
It's decreased a lot in higher education
Hmm.
institutes now,
Hmm.
because obviously there's more awareness around the topic. People also are there are also more repercussions now to bullying compared to what it was
Yeah.
30
Yeah.
years ago. There are legal ways in which you can fight it,
Hmm.
and there have been unfortunately very extreme cases of suicides in higher educational institutes,
Yeah.
which were caused due to bullying. So
Hmm.
law has stepped up. There are measures to protect it. Like you said, we sign forms or we sign bonds when we are joining an educational institute to refrain from it. And I think in like college institutions, it's seeing a decline over the past many years compared to what it was, let's say, a generation before us. So
But
that's a
yeah.
good sign.
But as you mentioned, that everyone
Mhm.
has a different way of dealing with it. Because
Yeah.
obviously we are all, different individuals and we have our own
Mhm.
unique ways of reacting to the same stimulus. But
Yeah.
what happens is that sometimes, even though we are, what you mentioned, from belonging to a strata of the society, which is more privileged than many people,
Yeah.
especially, even in our college, we had
Hmm.
girls, we had people coming in from smaller towns, and you
Yeah.
could see that, they are scared, they are nervous, they
Hmm.
are, they are
Yeah.
very vulnerable. But that could also be
Absolutely.
for someone coming from our background, that,
Hmm.
you also bring in your own vulnerabilities, your own challenges, your own,
Yeah.
experiences of growing up. So what I
Yeah.
felt was when this incident was happening with me, um, a I'm not a kind of a person who would just immediately start a fight or stop it or
Hmm.
retaliate against it or complain. Like,
Hmm.
some people are very bold in that sense that they're up to fight, they're up to take a
Yeah.
battle against the people who are doing wrong. And since I was not that kind of a person, it took me a
Hmm.
very long time to understand what should be my approach to this issue. And
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
did was, I just, every day I would go to college, and I knew that these are the people who are doing this behind my back or whatever, sometimes in
Mm,
front of me also. But I would just
mm,
smile at them,
mm,
not giving two fucks about what you are saying and what you're doing. But
yeah.
later on, I realized
Mm,
that, one of the reasons why I did not fight was also because I
mm,
felt that, I don't have enough support system with me
yeah.
right now. Like
Yeah.
I was not scared, but I was
Mm-hmm.
feeling that, maybe what if I make a fool out of myself? What if I
Yeah.
don't have anyone who's, because even if people support me, uh, you know, on an one-to-one level, they might
Yeah.
not want to support me at a public space, that, in
Yeah.
front of the whole
Yeah.
class or in front of the whole office. You might not
Yeah.
want to stand up and fight against those people or necessarily pick up a debate with them. And then,
Yeah. Yeah.
on the other side, I also felt that, as adults, many a
Mm,
times why these cases, we, as high school students, we used to hear a lot about these engineering and medical college students committing suicides and,
yeah.
really going into depression because of
Mm,
the ragging and bullying that they're facing. And
yeah.
when I was going through it, I felt that, one of the reasons why maybe it reaches to that extent is that you
Mm-hmm.
don't want to disturb your parents or your brothers, your family with such
Yeah.
issues, because you might feel
Yeah.
that, they have such bigger things to deal with, or maybe,
Yeah.
you don't want to hamper the family atmosphere. And so you don't reach out. You don't
Yeah.
reach out for help. You don't reach out for,
Mm-hmm.
any form of support. And
Mm-hmm.
what happened, like I was fortunate enough that I was mature to an extent
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to, like, control my emotions. I was able to
Mm-hmm.
come out of it pretty easily. It
Yeah.
was not very difficult for me because it didn't matter to me at that age and at that stage. I had more
Yeah.
important things to do. But it's not true for people, for everybody. Maybe
Yeah.
somebody else who is going through some major issues in their life, maybe that
Mm-hmm.
could have really pushed them to that edge where, you reach
Yeah.
a stage where you're either slipping into a depressive stage, or you're thinking about suicidal thoughts, and
Mm-hmm.
to dropping out of college,
Yeah.
to running out of your house. I've
Yeah.
seen, there's there's a whole section on Quora on
Yeah.
bullying, where you have these questions and people are answering them, where it's
Yeah.
written that sometimes the bully or the people who are bullying you are so
Mm-hmm.
powerful, not
Yeah.
physically, but like, they have so much control over your thoughts and your emotions that
Mm-hmm.
they are also not aware that they have successfully managed to take so much control over your life and your mind and your
Yeah.
thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's such a it's such a scary thing that
Yeah.
there are people out there who can control your entire personality, who can
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
control your entire being. And
Yeah.
to think about it, I feel that it's not a small, because even these forms that we fill, हमको लगता है
Yeah.
कि अरे ये last minute का है. I don't think anybody even reads it. हाँ हाँ हम कहाँ
Reads
करेंगे
through it.
bully, पढ़ लो बस sign कर दो, अरे मम्मी sign कर
Huh.
दो. I don't think I
Hmm.
personally have ever read a full affidavit of
Hmm.
anti-ragging, because I'm like,
Hmm.
मैं तो नहीं करूँगी, और
Hmm.
I know I won't do it. But then
Hmm.
how do you
Hmm.
know you're not doing it to somebody?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You may be doing it.
Yeah. Unintentionally or like without
Yeah.
knowing. I also
Yeah.
feel like with bullying, there's of course the idea that usually it's a person with certain things that are stronger than you, but
Hmm.
there's also the entire psychology or the psych. I've read quite a bit about bullying much earlier about how it plays out, and there's this other school of thought which says that the bully is usually a person who's so weak that they do this outwardly things to kind of show how strong they can be, but emotionally there's this hollowness within them. So like obviously with psychology, I think when you read too much into it, for every crime that a person commits, there has to be like a reason behind it, right? Unless,
Hmm.
of course, it's
Hmm.
a sociopath. But usually there are circumstances in a person's life that has kind of led them to do something which is wrong, right? For a lot of bullies, it is a way or a tactic of also getting attention, which they might not have, in
Yeah.
other aspects of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
So probably they're not getting the attention that they feel like they want or they deserve in their home setting or like with their parents. Um, so then they kind of project themselves as this larger than life personality in their social circle to gain that attention.
Hmm. Hmm.
And obviously it has its, but because the person is riding on that power high, they don't see the consequences it has on the other person. And those consequences on the person who's being bullied doesn't matter to them because they are getting the attention, they are getting what they want, right? Um, so it obviously is and has been a way of showing your superiority, but sometimes I also feel that like especially if- and like how you said, in terms of dealing with it, I think despite having a very supportive family structure, there have obviously been like very little information that has gone from me to my parents about this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Again, for similar reasons, I thought I was adult enough to handle it on my own. Don't want to bother them. Think it's too trivial for them to kind of get to know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but having said that, just seeing how it works out, and how till what extreme ends it can go. So
Hmm.
for me, because I was in a new setting, I was also trying to fit in. Fitting in, having that group is a very important part of, I think, any social structure. You want to feel belong. You want to feel like you're a part of the group.
Yeah.
So I think for a long time my coping mechanism was actually still being friends with my bullies, or like friends, I don't know if I can like call friends, but like still being part of that circle, still laughing at being laughed at. So I would join them, in kind of making fun of myself. So it felt like I was
Yeah.
taking it in my stride.
But there's a very good point that you raised, and I was also thinking about it, that there's a very thin line
Yeah,
between joking and between
yeah,
bullying. Because a lot of
yeah,
times,
yeah.
when we meet in a group, when there's a
Hmm.
big circle, or when you are with a core group circle, your friends from your childhood, from your school,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do meet and you do make fun of each other. You do make you do have a fun time where you're joking about each other's things. Like I have friends who would pick up on anything, like from the
Mm.
smallest of the thing. Like even if I'm wearing a sari today, they'll be like, "Are ye kya hai ye?" But I know that the heart is in the right place.
In the right
It has
place. Yeah.
never crossed the line where it starts looking as if you are sort of saying it in a very negative way where it's
Yeah.
hurting or it's disrespectful towards somebody. So
Yeah.
I think that's also where as a person you need to have that
Hmm.
discerning eye that this is not bullying, this is joking.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
at the same time, this is not joking, this is actually bullying. Like to
Bullying.
recognize
Yeah.
it as a bullying. Like, that
Yeah.
yes, this person is a bully. What you said that,
Yeah.
I wanted to be, I was being a part of it, of them making fun
Hmm.
of me. Because
Yeah.
somewhere maybe you were trying to use that defense mechanism that, okay, it's just joking. It's just
Yeah.
maybe having fun. But,
Yeah.
later on you realize that no, it's not. It was not just
Yeah.
joking. It was more than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So definitely, like I think the intent with what things are said matters a lot.
Yeah.
There is a obviously like there's a difference between joking and bullying.
Mm.
And I think when it comes from a space of trying to put the other person down, it's not joking anymore.
Yeah.
Right? So there are things which are said in jest and fun and all of that, but those are not also prolonged. So bullying also happens in a prolonged form. It's the same things that are being said to you again and again, which are detrimental to how you think about yourself
Yeah.
or how
Yeah.
you perceive yourself. And I think even throughout that period, I was aware that I was being bullied, but I still had to fit in to have my own footing before I could say something. And there were a lot of things that people would do slyly, just like so if uh, like I think when I was in school, I was an introvert, and I had a big fear of like public speaking. This was like in middle school, high school, and I remember one of the person in my life at that time. We were part of the same batch. She put my name on the list for the extempore speech competition, and this
Oh,
is not done with the right intention, because it's
okay.
a public thing. I am not going to speak in front of like few friends. It's in front of the entire school, and the name had already gone to the whatever, the final list and everything. I had to actually go and speak in front of an entire auditorium of people, and I was very nervous about it for days. I couldn't sleep, couldn't stop thinking about it. So but obviously, like I ended up doing it. I was okay doing it, but I could have also gone blank on stage that day,
Yeah.
and you know in obviously when you grow older, now we realize that those things don't matter. Nobody is going to remember how you like were silent on stage for 2 minutes in some 2013 or like some 2008, right? But at that moment it felt like that could define your entire life.
Entire life. Yeah.
Yeah. So it did have like a lot of weight in terms of like how you said it could define how you put yourself out there, or it could have totally changed and like pushed someone back into their shell. Um,
Yeah.
but like I think in terms of drawing the line, it's uh, usually like I think people are able to discern between the two at most ages.
Mm.
You know, even like a child, especially when you're younger, of course, there's more conversation with like parents, there's more involvement of the teachers. Also, I think as children grow older, when they're in high school or when they're in colleges or universities, um, teachers or lecturers or professors don't usually get involved in things like this, right? And I do feel that there's a certain responsibility that they still hold, irrespective of whether the fact that the class they're dealing with has, mature adults or not. Maturity again is subjective. I don't think it really comes with the number in your age. I think it is a mental process. So especially in higher educational institutes, professors do consider like teaching as their core job at what they do, which is true. I think imparting education is their primary role, but also, you know, uh, the fact that they are handling a group of students, there's a number of things that are going on, and if something is definitely sticking out as problematic,
Mm.
some sort of intervention I think is required for it to
Yeah.
not escalate to a stage where it can turn into something tragic, right?
Ugly. Yeah, it
So
could turn into
be it the
something.
professor, be it the university counselor, somebody has to step in at that point of time and sort of bring both the parties together and see what is happening and why is it happening. And
True.
there obviously will be ways to kind of bring it down or
Some
put a stop to it.
accountability should be there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like everyone knows that someone's
Mm.
bullying someone, but there's no one who's like going and talking to this person.
Mm. Right.